What good folks, it's Dark319 and welcome back to another What If, and I believe this is What If Naruto was Sephiroth Reincarnation Part 2, so like, comment, subscribe and share, but besides all that, enjoy the video. Chapter 2, The Angel and Demons, AN. Okay. Real quick note here. In the first chapter there was a minor error in terms of describing Naruto/Sephiroth's height when he became the one-wing angel, and it needs to be corrected. Sephiroth's height is higher than Shino's by a few inches, and the only reason I wrote what I did in the first chapter was because of the restriction seals for his height. Plus the malnutrition Naruto got as a kid basically made him to be severely short, so you have to picture the kid being shorter than usual. Just thought I'd clear this up. Enjoy. Sephiroth walked through the dense forest on the borders of Fire Country with a smile on his face the whole way through his traveling to wherever he felt like going. It had been a little over a week since his newfound freedom, and Sephiroth relished every second of it. The memories of pain, suffering, and figurative suffocation in being Uzumaki Naruto in all aspects were fresh in the young warrior's mind. He was shorter than all the kids at the academy, considered the dumbest of all of them too, and easiest to pray for others to take their pains out on simply because they could. But like the old saying goes, what doesn't kill you can only make you stronger, and that was exactly what happened in the end, with Naruto being reborn as Sephiroth. With no more seals restricting, suppressing, or doing anything to impede his abilities, the one-winged angel felt like a bird free from its cage, flying anywhere his heart desired. Though that won't last long. No doubt the powers that be in Konoha will seek to cut my flying short, thought Sephiroth, as he frowned at that, and knew soon every high-ranking shinobi would be searching for him. Sephiroth soon stopped in his tracks while stopping that line of thought when he sensed a small group of people that were camping out not that far away. Curious, the boy walked towards the group, and saw them sitting by a warm fire eating a meal of ration bars that seemed to be a common thing from the sight of them resisting the desire gag when eating. "This deal we got with Gato makes me nervous, boss," said one of the two short, almost identical twin-looking figures wearing a gauntlet on one hand. "Me too. I hear he's a real snake in the grass," said the other twin before biting down on his ration bar. "So what if Gato is a snake in the grass? It's those kind of guys who pay the most, and that's what we need," said the boss, giving the twins a glare while the girl near him wearing a strange mask on the side of her face stayed quiet. "What if he betrays us?" said the first twin curiously. "Then you and your brother will take him out in the way you kill best," said the boss, as he stopped in the middle of eating, and looked in Sephiroth's direction. "I was beginning to wonder when you would sense me," said Sephiroth, walking into their campsite, and was greeted with the four people now getting ready for a fight. "You've got a lot of balls to come in like your hot stuff, brat," said the second twin, now wielding both gauntlets just like the first twin, with both ready to pounce, with both of them having their knees bent. "Why are you here?" said the girl, putting her mask on and got ready to fight using senbone needles she brought to her fingers. "Me? I'm just passing through, but then sensed your little group here eating and talking about a possible job with someone named Gato," said Sephiroth, as he took a few more steps into the camp, and looked at how they were now ready to attack him all at once. "Meaning we can't let you live," said the boss of the group with the large sword in hand. "Really? Shame. I wanted to join you in your little business opportunity. Surely an extra hand in what the job you're hired for could use an extra hand?" said Sephiroth, as he saw the twins laugh a little, and saw the boss smirk like it was joke. "It wasn't. What we intend to do is work for a real slime ball and get our hands really bloody. You are just a punk kid, what could you know of spilling blood, and being an agent of death?" said the boss, seeing the kid, who was possibly Haku's age, and had an air of confidence about him. But it was those eyes that unsettled the leader of the group. "Me? Spilling blood? Yes, I think I know something of that, and being an agent of death when you consider the fact the Sandaime Hokage of the Leaf was killed by my hands," said Sephiroth, seeing the surprise on the group's face and the disbelief that followed. "You did what?" "Impossible," said the boss of the group, since he clearly didn't believe a kid could take down a cage. "Nothing is impossible when it comes to me," said Sephiroth, as he raised his hand, and he manifested his Nadachi before their very eyes. "What the hell?" said the twins at the same time. "You weren't bluffing when you said the Sandaime Hokage died at your hands," said the boss of the group, now seeing the look of a person with a precision mean streak longer than his Zanbatsu and twice as wide. "No, I wasn't. By now, all of the Leaf is on lockdown, word spreading to the Fire Daimyo about what I did, and a new Hokage is being looked for to take the old man's place," said Sephiroth, as he looked at them, and his eyes calculating who to strike first should this fight happen between them. "What's your name?" said the boss of the group with narrowed eyes. "Namikaze Sephiroth, the one-winged angel of death," said Sephiroth, as he saw the man look at him with surprise, and backing away slightly in fear. Zabuza-sama, what is it? Said the girl, having given the man a name for Sephiroth to use for when addressing him. Stand down. All of you. If this is who I think it is, he could crush us all right now like we're insects, said Zabuza, seeing the three around him look back with surprised looks on their faces. What? Who is this punk kid? Said the first twin of the two. Shut up, you idiot. Every one of the 7 swordsmen of the mist have all heard of the legendary and infamous Namikaze Sephiroth. His story, his legend, and rumor pertaining to his skills as a swordsman are passed down from teacher to student. The man was and still is considered a god amongst men when it came to the way of the sword. It was said that Sephiroth could slice through mountains in a single swing of his blade, could make it rain blood like it was a natural occurrence, and wield power greater than the Kyuubi itself, said Zabuza, seeing the sword the boy manifested into his hands, and knew deep within his mind this kid had revealed to them the one great sword of the said man. Sephiroth's sword, Masamune. Then you know about the prophecy. Then you know it was said he would one day return to this world, said Sephiroth, seeing the man nod his head. You're his reincarnation, said Zabuza, as he knew this kid still had a ways to go in growing to match the original height of the Sephiroth centuries ago, but the boy was well on his way, and knew that they were lucky to even have this long a conversation with him right now instead of being dead. Yes. Yes, I am, said Sephiroth, smiling at the group, seeing them now terrified at being in his presence. Why, you mentioned you wanted to join us, said the second twin of the two, and they saw Sephiroth nod. I do. If you're concerned about the loss of money, I'll let you keep my share, as I just wish to leave here, and explore the elemental countries for a while, said Sephiroth, as it was clear this Gato was not from Fire Country, and in need of services away from the leaf. Perfect for someone like Sephiroth. Yeah. I imagine killing the Sandaime Hokage of Konoha would bring down a lot of heat on you, since the man was highly respected for his skills as a shinobi. Still, if you bring down too much heat, I would appreciate it if you left the group, and take whatever they throw at you away from us, since we don't need to villages on our tails, said Zabuza, as he saw Sephiroth nod in respect to that terms, and could tell the boy had honor in him. Now that we are in agreement about that, could you tell me your names, and some of your skills, since I need to know who I will be working with? Said Sephiroth, put away Masamune, and sat down on a log that had yet to be used for the fire that gave the young warrior a godly look about him. Sure. Name's Momochi Zabuza. Former member of the 7 Swordsmen of the Mist. I left after my failed coup on the Mizukage failed, and I rescued her from the bloodline civil war that sprung up there, said Zabuza, as he pointed to the girl, and she nodded before looking at Sephiroth while trying to keep her nerves from breaking under those glowing powerful eyes. My name is Haku. Just, Haku. I left with Zabuza-sama after he found me living on the streets looking for food and trained me to the shinobi I am now, said Haku, as she was not about to reveal her bloodline, or the fact she used it accidentally in a moment of terror to kill her father along with an angry mob of people hating bloodline users. I'm Gozu, and this is my zoo. We're the Demon Brothers. We left because the Mizukage started the civil war against people with bloodlines. We're tag team type of attackers, and our gauntlets have poison in them, so even if we just get a scratch on the enemy they can still die later, said Gozu, as he saw Sephiroth nod, and then stare at the fire. My name is Namikaze Sephiroth. I am the reincarnation of the first, as foretold by a prophecy that a Namikaze on my father's side of the family would come forth into this world. On the night of October 10th, the Kyuubi attacked the Leaf Village when I was born as Uzumaki Naruto, and my father the Yondaime Hokage sealed the fox into me while knowing I was the child of that prophecy. He conspired with the Sandaime Hokage along with another to prevent the prophecy from ever occurring, while using the sealing of the Kyuubi as an excuse to have the people of the Leaf keep me humbled, as they put it. When I learned the truth of this, I set the Kyuubi free within my body to smash through the seals, and killed the Sandaime for his years of lies against me. As for the Kyuubi, even now he still resides within my body, and resting in my mind, using what remaining power he has left until I absorb him fully in the next few years, said Sephiroth, seeing the jaws of the group drop at the brief story about his life. You are really the vessel of the Kyuubi? Said Haku, as she saw him nod, and blushed at the sight of his now revealed stomach that had the faint signs of the Shinigami seal imprinted on it. Yes. Since I can remember, which is a lot mind you, I've been attacked by the people of the Leaf, and saved in a plan to make me grateful to the Sandaime in order to ensure my loyalty. What's more, is I had various seals placed on my body to restrict and suppress my power so the prophecy could never happen, said Sephiroth, as he put his shirt down, and never once stopped looking at the fire when talking. Damn, and I thought Haku had it bad, thought Zabuza, as he looked at the girl for a brief second, and then back at Sephiroth. Now that introductions are over, please tell me about Gato, and what he requires of our services, said Sephiroth, wanting to get to the business at hand. Konoha at the moment, as Sephiroth had predicted upon the Sandaime Hokage's death, the village was indeed in lockdown, and word had spread throughout the Leaf about what happened not that long ago. Many blamed the Kyuubi brat for this, as they just wanted him dead, and yet the old cage had protected the demon boy from any true harm they felt the monster deserved. Many of the younger generation that knew Naruto from the academy days were very surprised by this, but it was Uchiha Sasuke that was livid among the group, and seething in anger at Naruto of all people killing the Sandaime. Shikamaru didn't know what to think when word spread of the Sandaime's death due to the man supposedly being a legend among shinobi that had done so much in his time and was the only Hokage to come out of retirement since most shinobi die young. Kiba was surprised that this happened, as he always picked on Naruto, calling him a runt, and just following the crowd and what people thought of him. Choji was like Shikamaru, as the two had grown up together, and had no ill will towards the blonde boy. Though no one in the classroom waiting for the Jounin instructors to arrive except Hinata and Iruka knew the boy was no longer blonde. Ino was terrified, as she didn't think someone like Naruto could kill the Sandaime, and it seemed less likely when you consider the ranks of the two along with comparing their stats against the other. If anything, in Ino's mind anyway, the winner should have been the Sandaime by a landslide, and the girl wondered if Naruto was indeed the horrible demon the people around her thought he was. Sakura was among the first to believe Naruto was just that, as she had learned much in the ways of hating the blonde boy from her parents, and to make his life as miserable as possible. Shino had never cared much for Naruto, as the bugs inside his body spoke to be cautious of the blonde, but at the same time the Aburame never shunned him either, and decided to keep his distance while trying to look like he was keeping his distance. While Nushinan were waiting for their Jounin to arrive, the said Jounin were all in a room with two of the three Sannin with the councils, and the clan heads there too. At the moment, a new Hokage was being decided with all those present trying to determine just whom among them had the might, and the right to take the mantle from the Sandaime Hokage. The old man left pretty big shoes to fill that were only surpassed by the late Yondaime Hokage himself, and everyone knew how that turned out shortly after happening. So who should become the new Hokage? We need a competent leader, who is capable of handling this dreaded situation, and running the village when the lockdown has been lifted, said Nara Shukaku, with his mind and body being fully awake for once in a very rare form. It won't be easy to choose from. The old man left a massive hole to fill. What about one of the Sannin here? They've learned from him and could take the mantle if they wish to, said Tsume, knowing both of the Sandaime's loyal students were more than qualified for the job. I can't. I have to track down the Gaki and prepare some kind of sealing procedure to take him down, said Jiraiya, as he was best used in this case out on the field, and looked at a fuming Tsunade looking ready to tear this place apart piece by piece. Jiraiya suspected the only reason Tsunade came back was to be at their sensei's funeral. The instant Jiraiya heard of the old man's death at the hands of the person no one wanted to see brought back to this world, the Toad Sannin had to do what he hoped never to do, and contact Tsunade about the Sandaime's death. What's more, Jiraiya told her about Naruto not being dead, and he along with her sensei lied to make sure Naruto didn't grow up around her. She would have pounded him into paste had Jiraiya not explained very quickly about the prophecy, about Namikaze Sephiroth coming back via Naruto, and all that was done to prevent it from happening. Tsunade again wanted to pound the man into paste, but chose to keep that option in reserve for later, and followed him back to the Leaf to know exactly what had happened from the only witness to the event that led to the Sandaime's death. After Iruka told them everything that happened, Tsunade wanted to know why Naruto was even treated in that manner rather than the opposite, and didn't like the answer. First, the people around her didn't know, or care about Naruto to even look into it. To them, Naruto was the Kyuubi vessel first, to be considered in it, and not a person like he should have been. An animal to be tamed by barbaric means and let the way that's worked for years stay the course until something wrong actually happens. Well, something did go wrong, and this event was proof the old ways were obsolete. And what exactly would I get out of being Hokage? Nothing. Yubakas hate Naruto for the fox. My perverted former teammate helped our now late sensei, and the Yondaime in keeping the prophecy from happening with the results of the so-called plan blowing up in your face. What do I can from coming after my own godson? The godson I was told died, which I recall was part of the plan, and should never have been started in the first place, said Tsunade, seeing people around her give the woman a lot of space due to the state she was in, being known to crush small mountains. Tsunade, be serious. The boy would have become Sephiroth regardless of whatever the Yondaime or Sandaime planned to stop it. The fact you are defending this monster makes me question your sanity and loyalty to the Leaf, said Koharu, as she saw Tsunade turn that angry face towards the elderly woman, and looked ready to unleash it. And how would you know that he would turn, you old bitch? You supported the people in this room that wanted him killed or turned into a weapon. Not to mention that the very reason for the crap this village put Naruto through wasn't even relevant to the prophecy, said Tsunade angrily. Nevertheless, a Hokage is needed to keep the village from feeling overwhelmed, and there is no one here with the ability to do that except yourself. Please Tsunade-sama, would you become Hokage of the Leaf, and take up the mantle your family did years ago? Said Aburame Shibi, as he knew being polite to this woman was the only logical way to reach Tsunade, and keep the temper she had from destroying everything. And it worked. The Sannin closed her eyes, bringing the temper she was infamously known for having slowly into submission, and looked at each of the fools that were left in charge of this village with deadly glares. Fine. I'll become Hokage. However, we're going to do thing my way, and if you don't like it then you can resign from your positions. Got it? Said Tsunade, as she looked at each of them dead in the eyes to dare challenge her, and saw none of them did. Wave Country East Side Dockyard, what the hell is this? I asked for you, the Demon Brothers, and the masked one here. Now you bring another in to join your ranks to further up the rates? Said Gato, as he looked at the group in front of him, and was not happy about spending so much of his not hard-earned illegal money. The rate we gave you is the same. The new kid won't take any of our cut, so be thankful that the rate we're giving you doesn't go up because it could if you piss me off any further today, said Zabuza, as he saw Gato look at him suspiciously, and then at Sephiroth. He doesn't look like much, said Gato looking at Sephiroth with squinting eyes. Don't underestimate him. He can hold his own like the rest of us. If anything, you're getting a better rate with him here than without, said Zabuza, knowing the man was only happy when his wallet wasn't so squeezed, and this was the best way to make Gato see things better. I'd better. Now, the first order of business is to keep the people of this shithole under my thumb until I can get some more of my men over to the island, and that's going to take some time. They're coming over from a port from another country, but the officials there need more grease on their wheels before they can properly spin in my favor, and until then you're going to watch over the place for me, said Gato, seeing the majority of the group was not pleased by the assignment. That's it? We do guard duty? Said Gozu, not believing they were assigned such a low-ranked task. Just for now. There are few insects in Wave that need to be exterminated soon enough, so when I feel they need to be taken care of I'll have you do it, said Gato, as he could send his thugs easily, but they were cheap, and it would be better to get what he paid for with the missing nin here. Plus the new one with them. Fine. Though we expect to be paid for doing our assignments, so don't even think about screwing us over, or else, said Zabuza, as he walked away with the others following, and heading out to the accommodations Gato was providing. Konoha Hokage's office 2 weeks later, Tsunade sighed, as she looked over the missions in front of her, and seeing which ones to give to the various new Jinan teams on hand. Guy's team had a few C-ranked missions under their belt, but the councils wished for the rookies to get their feet wet too, and said that they needed to grow fast in hopes of combating Sephiroth one day. Tsunade didn't agree with them on it, but shortly after the lockdown was lifted, the Fire Daimyo came to see them, and he looked less than pleased when hearing how the plan to prevent the prophecy from happening had failed. The man approved of her being appointed to being Hokage, but not in her decision to keep the newly minted Jinan in the Leaf training, and learning more of the basic from their Jounin sensei. He told Tsunade to do what needed to be done in terms of getting those Jinan stronger and to send them on dangerous missions if necessary when not training. Meaning throw them into the fires of hell to see who comes out okay, slightly burned, or extra crispy, thought Tsunade, as she saw the escort mission to Wave Country, and called for her assistant Shizune to come in. Yes, Tsunade-sama? Said Shizune, as she saw the woman looking over the piles upon piles of missions, and knew what the Slug Princess was thinking. What the hell am I doing here? Get me Jinan Team 8 and Team 9 in here for a C-ranked mission. I have that suits them perfectly, said Tsunade, as she knew this wouldn't be too much for both teams since it was a simple escort mission of one old man to his country, and couldn't possibly pose any problems the two teams. Within moments, each team was in front of her ready for their given assignment, and the Hokage laid it out for them what the mission was before introducing the old man that was their client named Tazuna. As for Tazuna himself, he wasn't really impressed with the two Jinan teams, and questioned the potential this group had in protecting him. Don't worry Tazuna-san. My team has excellent trackers and can spot anyone coming our way for miles, said Kurenai, as she looked at her team, and saw them looking their best not to be frightened of the foe waiting for them somewhere that was the village's enemy as a whole. Yosh. My youthful team also has the same tracking ability and have more experience in escorting. However, if Kurenai-san wishes to be in command of this mission, I will be a youthful gentleman, and let her have it, said Guy, as he heard two of his three Jinan groan, and the third that was his mini-clone go on about how noble he was. No Guy. It's alright. I'll be second in command for this, said Kurenai, as she was still slightly green when it came to being a jounin, and didn't want to bite off more than she could possibly chew with her team on the line. Team 8 and 9 will leave tomorrow for Wave Country with Tazuna in the morning, said Tsunade, as she knew the old man was too drunk to take now, and it was in the middle of the afternoon too, meaning the two teams wouldn't be out of the village until near nightfall by the time they packed. I don't like this, Tsunade-sama, said Shizune worriedly. I know, Shizune. My godson has become something so terrifying that I'm so hesitant to send these Jinan to their possible doom should we ever encounter him. Have the Bing books been updated and sent out to our shinobi in the field? Said Tsunade, as she saw Shizune nod, and knew the woman didn't like it. Every single one. Soon, he will be in every bingo book in the elemental countries, and every shinobi from every village will come after him, said Shizune, knowing the death toll was going to be high. Forgive me, my godson. It's now out of my hands, thought Tsunade, as she cursed her sensei, and Jiraiya for their stupidity in this mess. Wave Country. Several days later, the demon brothers failed to assassinate the bridge builder. The group escorting him from the leaf was too large for them to take down, so they couldn't kill the old man. I signaled them to retreat, said Sephiroth, seeing Zabuza frown at the report and knew this could be a problem. It's a good thing I had you there just in case. Where are they now? The demon brothers, I mean, said Zabuza, as he wanted them to get in front of the group, and rejoin him here in Wave to take down the group. They'll be here by tomorrow. Just ahead of the escort group. Had it been one Jinan team and their Jounin sensei, things would be different, said Sephiroth, seeing Zabuza nod in agreement. 3 Jinan along with the one Jounin sensei shouldn't be too much even for the demon brothers, but that wasn't the problem, and Zabuza knew it. Nor were the 6 Jinan in this group the real threat, but rather it was 2 Jounin that bothered him, simply because the 2 Jounin themselves could be quite skilled, and be able to defeat him if he got sloppy. Tell them to follow the group and get ahead of it after they land. We'll join up to take them down, said Zabuza, as he saw Sephiroth nod, and leave to inform the 2 missing nin. I'm surprised he listens to you, Zabuza-sama, said Haku, knowing how powerful the boy was and yet obeyed her master. It's not simply that he trusts me, Haku. It's because I've made all the decisions he would, and I sense my life would be at an end if I even thought of conspiring with his enemies, said Zabuza, as he felt a chill run up his spine every time they talked, and knew it was those eyes that kept warning the demon of the mist that betraying Sephiroth was a one-way trip into a place even demons didn't wish to be sent to. I won't let him kill you, Zabuza-sama, said Haku, as she would defend her master with her very life, and stop even Sephiroth from taking Zabuza away. Don't, Haku. Even if he decides to kill me, I consider it an honor unto itself to die at the hands of Namikaze Sephiroth, and the legendary sword he wields in battle. I don't even think there is a better way to end to my life than that, said Zabuza, seeing Haku nod and understanding, though it was clear she didn't like it. With Tazuna, Team 8, and Team 9, be silent while I row you over. Gato's men patrol these waters, so any noise you make could bring them here, said the nervous ferryman, not wanting to be spotted and then killed for this group's stupidity. To 2 teams along with Tazuna obeyed, since they didn't want to cause any problems they didn't have to, and decided to be amazed at the massive incomplete bridge in the background that was slowly being built. They had to admit that such a structure was indeed impressive, and wondered if it could be finished soon. When the boat docked on shore, the group got off, and made their way deep into the dense forest using an old back route Tazuna knew to get to his house. They were stopped when Hinata sensed something before activating her Byakugan and threw a kunai into the bushes. Upon closer inspection, it was a bunny that Hinata almost hit, but Kurenai along with Guy noticed the bunny's fur was white, and the season was that of spring. Meaning the animal was domesticated. Meaning that the bunny was used as a substitution before the kunai hit its mark. Meaning this was it's a trap. Duck, said Kurenai, as she grabbed her students, and Guy grabbed the old man while his own students dove for the ground when a massive sword flew past them to get stuck in a tree high above them with someone standing on the hilt of the weapon. My associates weren't lying when they said the old man was being protected by a large group of shinobi. And ones from the leaf too, no less. It must be my lucky day, said Zabuza, as he grinned behind his bandages, and leapt down with his sword behind his back. You're Momochi Zabuza. The demon of the mist and Jounin in rank before becoming a missing nin, said Kurenai, as she quickly looked at her students, knowing that they each had bloodlines, which were not welcome there, and hoped the man didn't embrace such immoral beliefs. Good. You know my name. That saves me the need to introduce myself. Besides, if you know who I am, then you must know 2 of my associates, and their way of killing runts like the ones you have with you, said Zabuza before snapping his fingers, and in a quick instant the demon brothers shot out of their hiding spots to wrap the razor-sharp chain around the Jinan along with the old man to kill them quickly. However, Guy's female student Tenten was knowledgeable of the weapons the two used, and knew how to counter it by shooting kunai into the chain itself with the points of the kunai sticking through the holes of the chain design into the tree to stop it. Next, Guy's mini-clone Rock Lee used his taijutsu skills to break the chain, and Neji quickly warned them of the poison in each of the gauntlets. "It seems they have some skill, brother," said Gozu, surprised the group was so skilled for being just Shinon. "It just means we'll have to try harder, brother," said Maizu, as he moved his one eye to Team 8, and Gozu saw what he was thinking about, since that was their secret way of indicating whom to target next. Quickly, they moved towards Team 8, gauntlet arms raised to strike them down, or at least poison the group before moving on to the old man. Hinata from her direction used Gentle Fist to knock Gozu back into a tree, while Kiba and Shino knocked Maizu into a tree of his own. "Don't think that just because the majority of this team are ranked Shinon that they are weak, Zabuza," said Kurenai, as she saw him looking pleased by this, and wondered why that was. "It's not that, my dear. I was merely testing the waters behind the rumors that Leaf Shinon are on the level of regard everyone seems to hold them. Even more so when you consider my other ace in the hole that has recently joined me," said Zabuza, laughing a cruel laugh that neither Kurenai nor Guy liked one bit. "And just who else would you have at your command that would bring about such fear in us?" said Guy, as he saw the thick wrapping of bandages on Zabuza stretched to the point of nearly tearing from the smile the man had, and it was making the two Leaf teams become more nervous. "Why spoil the surprise when he can introduce himself to you right now?" "Correction, he can reintroduce himself," said Zabuza before looking to his right and saw the figure he was referring to make himself known with a gasp from Hinata. "Hello everyone. It's so good to see you again after such a short time, Hyuga Hinata," said Sephiroth, as he saw Hinata look conflicted, and his sight of her was blocked by the protective form of Yuhi Kurenai. "How do you know my student?" said Kurenai, with kunai drawn in one hand and the other ready to go through hand signs to cast a genjutsu. "It's not surprising she didn't tell you. In fact, Iruka himself didn't know she witnessed my rebirth, and what transpired afterwards," said Sephiroth, making Guy and Kurenai tense at hearing him say that. "You're him. You're Namikaze Sephiroth reborn," said Kurenai, seeing the smile on the boy's lips and the smooth chuckle that followed. "Got it, one. Congratulations," said Sephiroth, as he summoned Masamune to his hand, and slowly began to walk towards them. "We can't face him. We have to retreat," said Kurenai, seeing Guy nod, but his team was not so willing, and were now ready to fight the silver-haired youth. "Sorry Guy-sensei, but this guy will just pursue us, and eventually cut us down," said Tenten, as she brought out her own sword, and prepared to see if the rumors of this foe were indeed true. "It seems fate has decided to test whom among this group will be alive after today," said Neji, as he got into Gentle Fist stance again, and had his Byakugan active. "We must protect the client from our foes, and I cannot forgive myself if I don't fight such a worthy enemy," said Lee, as he got into his own taijutsu stance taught to him by Guy, and motioned for Sephiroth to engage them in battle. "Such strength in the face of your demise. It will almost be a shame that I have to end your lives today," said Sephiroth, as he smirked at them, and in an instant was upon them. And another instant later, the three Shinon were in the air, as Tenten's sword shattered to pieces beyond repair, Neji with multiple cuts all over his body, the same as Lee, and their dual bun-haired teammate. Blood leaving their bodies from the devastating injuries that Sephiroth hit them with using Masamune, and they each fell to the ground in pain. In pain, but alive to live another day, and that in itself was a miracle to them. In that moment, Guy was upon Sephiroth using all the skills and knowledge that made him an elite Jounin taijutsu master. However, Sephiroth's speed was nothing to laugh at, as the silver-haired youth dodged them all, and even caught Guy's fist aimed at his face before pulling the man in close to give the spandex-wearing Jounin a harsh knee to the gut that sent him flying back past the group by at least 20 feet. "Let's see how you handle genjutsu," said Kurenai, as she prepared to use one, but before the Jounin could even get through half the hand signs needed for one of her more nasty illusions, the world around her became dark and cold, like the very warmth of the sun one feels during the summer years become eclipsed in darkness. "I know all about genjutsu and illusions, my dear. Let me show one of mine." "Confuse," said Sephiroth, as he walked by the stumbling woman, who in his illusionary world couldn't stand straight, and soon collapsed with her stomach doing more flips than an acrobat before a sharp strike to Kurenai's neck took her down. And then there were 4. Well, 5 if you count Mito Guy getting back up off the ground. "I think we should run now," said Kiba, as he saw Sephiroth turn to them now, and was walking towards them. "You can't run." "Not from me," said Sephiroth, as he was in front of Kiba in less than a second, and landed a solid fist to the Inuzuka's stomach, causing the boy to fall to his knees, puking up what was left of the lunch he ate yesterday. His dog Akamaru tried to bite Sephiroth, but the silver-haired youth grabbed the dog by the neck, and threw him away from the group before focusing on the Aburame preparing his swarm of insects. The young Namikaze shook his head in displeasure at this before making a quick slicing motion, and over 2/3 of the insects cried out in pain while the boy that commanded them grabbed his chest in pain from the wound that was now there. Then, without a word to the insect user, Sephiroth was behind him, and a simple chop to the back of the neck made the last male member of Team 8 fall to the ground. Dynamic entry, said guy throwing a kunai in front of him while leaping forward in the hopes it would distract Sephiroth from the client and young Hyuga heiress. It didn't. Sephiroth easily moved his head to the right to let the kunai go right past his face and caught Guy's foot with his free hand before slamming the man hard into the ground. With a stab to the man's leg before kicking him in the head hard to make him fall unconscious. Thus the Jounin was temporarily out of commission until further notice, and the one-winged angel of death then focused on Hinata protecting the client while in the same kind of gentle fist stance her cousin had been in earlier. I never expected our paths to cross so soon, Hyuga Hinata. To be honest, I didn't even believe we would, and yet, here we are, said Sephiroth, as he saw the Hyuga girl hold her ground despite the various emotions within those lavender eyes, and yet still saw the strength he knew existed. I will defend Tsunade with my life. I will do what I must, said Hinata, as she didn't want to face her crush like this, and yet her duty to the leaf commanded that she do so regardless of what her heart said. I know you will, and for that reason, I show you mercy, said Sephiroth, seeing Hinata's confusion written on her face before she stiffened when senbone needles from above in the tree struck the girl's pressure points that caused the Hyuga heiress to collapse in shock. What the hell? Said Kiba, having partially recovered from the painful blow he received to his stomach before senbone needles hit him in the back of the neck and he quickly fell to the ground unconscious. And then there was one, said Sephiroth, as he walked towards the crying man, and saw his spirit to fight anymore had been broken from their actions. Please, I beg you. Don't kill me.
I need to live long enough to save my people.
They suffer under Gato's rule. He bleeds us dry every second of every day, and the only way to free ourselves from his tyranny is the bridge I'm making. It is the hope of our country, said Tsunade, as he fell to his knees, and stared at the figure that would be his executioner. For a moment, Sephiroth stared at Tsunade, looking him with cold calculating eyes, and to the old man's surprise along with that of those around him, the silver-haired bringer of death dispelled his sword before walking away. What are you doing? We have orders to kill the old man, said Gozu and Maizu at the same time. Just because we have orders to kill the bridge builder doesn't mean we have to do it right now. Let him and the 2 teams he's with pass, said Sephiroth, seeing the shocked looks on the demon brothers' faces and looking to Zabuza to confirm this action. Why? Said Zabuza, frowning at the boy while Sephiroth motioned for Haku to knock out the old man via senbone needle to a pressure point on his body that the girl did quickly to prevent unwanted ears from hearing the reason. Do I really need to give you a reason? If you must know the truth, then so be it. Even if we killed them all, Tsunade included in this, it would soon be clear to the Leaf that the mission they were sent on was not the rank it should be to send just 2 teams like these to a neutral country without a shinobi village, and more shinobi would come. The Leaf's Anbu to be more precise, and Gato would no doubt let it slip just who did the deed. I highly doubt the Mist will let the opportunity to send Hunter Nin after you slide, said Sephiroth, as he saw Zabuza frown, knowing that was true, and that Gato would do that while keeping them around so they wouldn't get paid. So we let them live. They send a message back to the Leaf to send backup to fight us, and yet they target you mostly while keeping the Mist out of this, since it would hurt Konoha's pride to let them in on possibly capturing us instead of them, said Zabuza, knowing that Mist would be all over them when they learned of how this group was killed. Exactly. This way Gato will be hesitant to do anything stupid against us while we get to see if he's actually going to pay you. If the businessman is the kind of person we think he is, then it's clear Gato will not keep his end of the deal, and send his thugs after us when our next battle is over while we are at our weakest, said Sephiroth, seeing Zabuza getting angry at the thought of being backstabbed by the businessman. So we go back, say we failed to get the old man, but we'll get him later, and make it a more public event to keep the rest of the people in this country in line? Said Zabuza, seeing Sephiroth smile that eerie smile of his. Now you understand. Brute force is good to instill fear, if only for a short time, but it is the more surgical ones that are truly everlasting, and remembered for years to come, said Sephiroth, knowing from his past life centuries ago. You think they'll live long enough to get a message back to the Leaf? Said Haku, as she appeared next to him with her mask still on, and saw him nod his head to signify that they would. They are badly injured, but the damage is only lethal should they choose not to get their wounds properly treated, and to prevent long-term problems, said Sephiroth simply. The group of missing nin were gone long before the group awoke in from the realm of their unconscious mind to that of being in pain from their injuries, but they were all glad to be alive, and were surprised that they even were alive considering just who defeated them. Though why they were spared death was probably the biggest concern of all. Gato's hideout. What do you mean the old man is still alive? I'm paying you all good money to kill that old fool, and here you are telling me some kids beat you back with their 2 teachers, said Gato, as he was less than pleased with this news, and have gone on a larger rant had Sephiroth not spoken up. You're missing the bigger picture here, Gato-san. If we killed them now, the people of Wave Country would suspect you had a hand in their death, and their fear would only increase slightly. However, if we kill them later in a more profound setting, then the fear the people have of you will skyrocket, and your iron grip on this area of the world will be secure, said Sephiroth, seeing Gato narrow his eyes at him, but the Namikaze could see the businessman's brain cogs and wheels turning in his head. Can you guarantee me their death next time? All of them? Said Gato, as he saw the boy smile at him, and then chuckle like such a thing was easier than breathing. When the time is right, we will strike, and then Gato-san, you will get everything that is coming to you, said Sephiroth, seeing Gato was pleased with those words and left with his 2 samurai thugs while having a smile on his face. I take it your words don't have the same meaning Gato thinks they mean, said Zabuza, seeing Sephiroth once more chuckle, and that damn smirk the boy had again sent chills up his spine. In a manner of speaking? Yes, said Sephiroth, as he left for his room, and was slightly surprised that Haku followed him to it. I wish to speak with you alone, said Haku, as she saw him nod, and turned to face her. Then speak, Haku. I won't bite, said Sephiroth simply while staring at the female ice user. After this job is over, will you continue to be with us, or are you going to break off from us entirely? Said Haku, feeling like she needed to know for some reason aside of telling Zabuza. Maybe. I haven't decided yet. The leaf has every intention of taking my head, the heads of anyone that joins me even for a time. You along with the others already have the Mist Village hunting you down, said Sephiroth before sitting down in a nearby chair and then let out a sigh. You surprise me, Sephiroth-san. People make you out to be a monster and yet, you're not, said Haku, as she felt that this was the real him, and not what the stories said he was. Maybe. Maybe not. I am a monster, that is true without question, but I am a monster that chooses to kill when the moment requires such things, and the same was said for my past self centuries ago. There were just more enemies back in those days than there are now in this time deserving to be annihilated, said Sephiroth, seeing Haku understand in some fashion about his reasons. The group we fought while from the leaf were not your true enemies, said Haku, as she could respect him for that, and for sparing the old man. Correct. My true enemies will make themselves known soon enough, and then those that are watching will have to choose which side is the side they believe is the right one, said Sephiroth, as he looked up at Haku with calculating eyes, and saw the blush rising in her pale cheeks in the process. Thank you for telling me, said Haku, deciding now was the best time to leave the room, and did so. What was that Nara at the academy once said? Ah yes. He said, to understand the female mind is just too troublesome, and that the only thing more troublesome than trying to understand the female mind is the female in question you are trying to understand. If I remember correctly. Perhaps there is more to that line of thought than I first realized, said Sephiroth before letting out a small laugh at the quote. Some things were indeed too troublesome to understand. Hokage's office several days later, Shizune yelled Tsunade, making the whole tower shake violently from her yell. Yes, Tsunade-sama, said Shizune, rushing in knowing it was unwise to keep the woman waiting. Get me every available Anbu we can spare. Right now, said Tsunade, as she had read the message Guy managed to get out to her, and made the female Hokage to age a few decades. Yes, Tsunade-sama, said Shizune, seeing the look in Hokage's eyes before rushing off to get the Anbu she needed. Moments later, Yugao's Anbu squad was in the room in full battle gear, and ready to be deployed the moment the Hokage before them gave the order. Unfortunately, they were the only squad available given how others were on patrol, guarding sensitive areas, and adding additional protection to the fire daimyo just in case Sephiroth learned of the feudal lord's approval of the conspiratorial plan to keep the one-winged angel of death from rising again. What are your orders, Hokage-sama? Said Yugao, wearing her Nico mask, and saw the look on Tsunade's face meant that this was one of those life or death missions few walked away from. You're going to Wave Country for a possible 2-part mission. First, you need to know that Namikaze Sephiroth has encountered Teams 8 and Team 9 on their escort mission to take Tazuna back home. They are all alive, but badly injured with their wounds ranging from moderate to severe, and need to be extracted. That's the first part of your mission, which is to heal both teams before getting them out of Wave Country, and back here to properly recover. Second, you need to some reconnaissance work, and look for Namikaze Sephiroth to confirm he's still in Wave Country. Find out who he's working for, why he's working with Zabuza, and his group of rogue missing nins. Once you've been able to get such information, get your asses back here to report your findings so a plan of attack can be made, and we can stop this nightmare from continuing, said Tsunade, as she saw them nod, and then leave in a poof of smoke. Now Tsunade just hoped she didn't just send one of her best Anbu teams to their deaths in this apparent suicide mission. Wave Country Tazuna's house several days later. I still can't believe we're alive, said Tenten, as she shed mental tears for the loss of her sword, but that in itself was a small sorrow to pay in exchange for not losing any of her teammates, and wondered why the legend himself had spared them all from death. Me too. Fate should have declared us dead the moment Sephiroth made his way onto the battlefield, said Neji, as he was confused by this chain of events, and what it meant to him. That fact that Namikaze Sephiroth spared us from dying proves he is not entirely the monster we've been made to believe, said Lee, seeing the shocked looks of his teammates and teammate near them hearing this discussion. How can you say that? He kicked the crap out of us without even trying, said Kiba, as his stomach still wasn't feeling right, and nearly puked earlier that morning at the mere memory of it. That's exactly Lee's point, Kiba. Logically, someone of Sephiroth's reputation, whether true or false, should have wiped us out with his sword skills alone. Instead, he left us, our senseis, and the client alive, knowing full well that in our condition prevented any of us to defend ourselves, said Shino, as he was baffled at the actions of the enemy, and it was making his mind work at different possibilities to the reason behind the sparing of their lives. And maybe not all the rumors about him being a monster are true, said Hinata, having received the least amount of damage from the group and had been helping in dressing every one of their wounds. Even Neji seemed receptive to Hinata's help, if just for the moment, and accepted her temporary medical treatment, since any other Hyuga main family member would have looked at him with disgust. Maybe Hinata, but considering how badly he beat us, it's clear that the vast majority of them are true, and Sephiroth is not to be underestimated again, said Kurenai, as she asked her student about the encounter she had with Sephiroth on the night the Sandaime died, and what Iruka had witnessed. Hinata had timidly admitted to sneaking out of the Hyuga clan compound to help in the capturing of the anonymously, at the time, named thief of the Forbidden Scroll of Sealing to prove she was worthy of being a shinobi of the Leaf. How Sephiroth caught her spying on him, how he just smiled, and talked to her like she wasn't an enemy. Like he could see into her very soul. It was scary and exciting all in one for Hinata. How is Tazuna holding up? Said Kiba, as he knew the old man like Hinata had been injured the least, and was walking around on his own. A bit shaken, but glad to be alive, and spared by Sephiroth for whatever reason he did it, said Kurenai, as she was confined to a bed from the sore neck she had suffered, and Hinata had recommended not moving so much unless something else was damaged. Do you think he knows where Tazuna lives? Said Tenten, making the group freeze up in realization that Sephiroth could possibly know and they were trapped here while they were recovering. I wouldn't put it past him. But, if he did know, then, why not simply take us out now, and be done with it? Said Guy, confused by Sephiroth's actions. There's no greater a moment than now. He has Momochi Zabuza, the Demon Brothers, and that one person still in the shadows Tazuna told us he saw throw senbone needles at Hinata. In our condition, it would be child's play to wipe us out, and the entire family in this house, said Kurenai, as she knew that they were in a no-win situation, and could only hope the message for reinforcements got through. How do we protect Tazuna now? Technically, we've completed our mission, but the situation here was clearly more than what was asked of us, and needs to be addressed right now, said Tenten, as she was unsure how they were supposed to deal with this situation since nothing like this had ever happened before, and the only one capable of answering this was either Jounin in the room. She's got a point, Kurenai-san. Even if we did continue somehow protect Tazuna from Sephiroth, we have to deal with the others, and none of the Genin here are capable of that regardless of their current condition, said Guy, as he knew that this was going to be difficult, and that protecting Tazuna when he went to the bridge was next to impossible should the enemy wish to kill him there. What was Sephiroth waiting for? Chapter 3 Best Laid Plans. A fellow author named Raxius has an epic Mickey challenge on his profile he would like all of you to look at if you are interested in taking it on. Please give it a look. Enjoy. Haku was walking through the forest area of Wave Country, wearing civilian dress that showed off her growing womanly figure, and attracting the eyes of male teenagers around her age. She came here to explore the forest for the medicinal herbs it had to offer, not knowing when the opportunity to do so, and without having to look over her shoulder for potential threats was there. Considering the potential battle that would soon be upon them while taking this assignment, it was better to be prepared. From what Sephiroth had told them, the Leaf Anbu could prove to be a problem, but most likely they would come specifically to extract the injured group assigned to protect Tsunade, and then refocusing their efforts entirely on him. A blush went to her cheeks at the memory of what happened in his room earlier in the morning when she walked in to check up on him per Zabuza-sama's orders. Flashback, Haku knocked gently several times before slowly opening the door to Sephiroth's room to see if the young swordsman was up and about to do some scouting for the Anbu. It was planned to have Sephiroth walk around to have the Leaf Anbu show themselves with his appearance should they even be in wave and direct them away from the other missing nin of the group. The plan was to make enough noise that it would allow the Zabuza-sama, the Demon Brothers, and herself the time needed to take out the bridge builder at his home. Even if some of the group the old man traveled with were there, they would be no match for any of them, and would fall easily at their hands. He's not here. Did he go out already? Or is he in the bathroom? Thought Haku, as she sensed warm water coming from the bathroom, thanks to her bloodline limit, and was about to leave when the door to that room opened that made the girl's eyes widen with red cheeks that could make a cherry envious. Before her eyes was Namikaze Sephiroth, currently wearing a towel, only a towel around his waist, and was coming out of the steam-filled room with his upper body covered in moist droplets of water. Haku could see every detail of his muscled torso, the lean arms, and long dripping wet silver hair that shined with such greatness the girl thought she was staring at something heavenly. "You wanted something, Haku?" said Sephiroth, seeing the girl looking at him with a gaping look and red face. Said Haku, as she couldn't think to form a sentence when around him, and felt her mind freeze up any logical thought while another part of the brain had become active with various exciting ideas. Ideas that involve things one found in Jiraiya's dirty orange books. "You came to check up on me." "Thank you, but there is no need. I was about to dress, and head out to continue with the plan to draw out the Leaf Anbu since they should be here soon," said Sephiroth, walking towards his bed. "Don't get dressed on my account." "Wait. What did I just think?" thought Haku, as she just stared at him, and was quickly out the door when she noticed him looking at her mere seconds from removing the towel. "Perhaps mother should have stayed in my head a little longer to help me understand her gender more," thought Sephiroth, as he got dressed, and put the strange look Haku had on her face out of his mind. End flashback. Haku smiled to herself at that memory, but even after looking back on it, the moment was embarrassing to the poor girl, and Zabuza-sama had instantly interrogated her after seeing the cherry red face. She could never lie to Zabuza-sama about anything no matter what, as that went against Haku's belief in protecting him from future threats, even if the threat was from herself, and told him exactly what she saw while also admitting that it excited her. She remembered glaring at the Demon Brothers after she heard them both snickering at her, and Zabuza-sama had to give the one thing he no doubt assumed would never be the one to give. It was the most dreaded, infamous, and evil thing a grown-up could do to a child coming of age into puberty, known only by two words: the talk. Again, the Demon Brothers snickered at her expense while Zabuza-sama spoke of such things like puberty, sexual intercourse, and other horrible things tied to the emotions she felt when staring at a recently cleaned Sephiroth. Of course she got them back after Zabuza-sama finished, and they were limping right now from having so many senbone ice needles poking into each of their cheeks while telling them they couldn't be removed without new ones taking their place. They were just going to have to wait until each of the ice needles melted. Besides, I doubt Sephiroth would never think of me like that, and wish to experience all those different things Zabuza-sama talked about with me. I'm a tool. A weapon, whose purpose is to serve only the strong, and protects them. But Sephiroth is stronger than Zabuza-sama, right? Thought Haku, as she felt a sudden pain grip her heart, and the conflict of serving the man who made her what she is not to following that same man's teachings to serve another more powerful person. Could she do that? If she had the opportunity to leave her Zabuza-sama's service in the upcoming battle that was surely to come soon just to follow another, would she take it? She did not deny that there were others in this world stronger than her master, but so far had never met one that could challenge the man move for move, sword to sword, and in terms of overall skill until now with Namikaze Sephiroth. She heard how Sephiroth could command all the elements like he was an actual god, some saying he had helped in the creation to one of the three great optical bloodlines that possessed such mastery, and could make even the blood of the strongest of warriors second to him run cold with fear. Haku knew her master was afraid of Sephiroth, but kept it hidden to make sure the other two in their group didn't think about backstabbing him for the Angel of Death, and yet the Demon of the Mist respected more than feared the other. She had no doubt Sephiroth knew of Zabuza's fear of him, but didn't say, or do anything about it. Though Haku knew that Sephiroth would destroy Zabuza should the Demon of the Mist try to betray him, and was simply going to retaliate when such betrayal happened. It was actually a brilliant strategy if done right, as the enemy gets in close to spring their trap, but you know the trap is coming, and thus springing a trap within the trap to catch the traitor in your crosshairs before gutting the baka like a fish. Shaking those thoughts from her head, Haku found the spot where herbs she knew would help in healing existed, but froze at the sight of another doing what appeared to be the same thing. It was that girl with the leaf. The Hyuga girl that Sephiroth knew from his days from before in the leaf and yet could not kill. What was her name? Hinata. Why couldn't he seek to harm a single hair on her head? Was she some kind of threat to him? Did she possess some kind of power aside from the bloodline her clan possessed to make Sephiroth stay his hand in bringing about pain like he had brought about with the others? Cautiously, Haku continued to walk towards the girl, calculating her odds and using this opportunity to eliminate the Hyuga with a simple choking maneuver, or perhaps a quick snap to the neck? Oh. I'm sorry. I didn't know anyone knew about this place, said Hinata, as she detected the person behind her while looking for herbs in this area Tazuna's daughter Tsunade had explained were known to possess healing powers if used correctly. Knowing the current condition her teammates, as well as her sensei were in along with her cousin's team, Hinata couldn't let this opportunity pass, and requested to get the herbs knowing they weren't far away from the house in a secluded area. Kurenai was against it, but Guy being the one with seniority had told the Hyuga girl she could on the condition she was extra careful, and use her bloodline during exploration of the area. It's alright. I didn't know anyone else knew about this area either. Mind if I join you? Said Haku while mentally cursing the girl's bloodline limit for detecting her and the now missed opportunity to remove the leaf Shannon from the equation. Still, information was a nice consolation prize. I don't mind. My name is Hyuga Hinata. Do you know this area well? Said Hinata, as she picked up an herb she needed, and saw Haku do the same. That is a lovely name. As for your question, the answer is no, I just learned of this spot not that long ago, and has only become a recent sanctuary to my private life. My name is Haku, said Haku while cursing herself for not having a last name to give and hoped the soon-to-be enemy would drop it. Your name is lovely too, Haku. Could you help me with these herbs I need? I'm making medicine for my friends and they need this badly, said Hinata seeing Haku smile and nod. Your friends must have gotten into quite a fight if you need so many. What happened? Said Haku seeing the girl look hesitant in answering, no doubt instructed to keep such information a secret, and keep Gato's spies away from hearing about the group's defeat. There was a family affair that got out of hand and now my cousin along with two of his friends he considers family are in considerable pain, said Hinata, as she didn't want to specify anything, and hoped Haku would drop it. That is horrible to hear, Hinata. I do wish your cousin and his friends a speedy recovery with their injuries, said Haku while pretending to find some more herbs while using the morning dew from the ground to secretly come to her hand and help form an ice needle needed to stab the Hyuga girl in the throat. You're lying, said Hinata, her voice becoming serious, and looking at Haku seeing the girl leap away. So you know. How? Said Haku though she guessed it was those eyes that were the source of Hinata's discovery. I saw the change in your walk after you noticed me. I saw your hand on the ground was secretly molding chakra to manipulate the water, which I can only assume is a bloodline limit from a nearly destroyed clan, and would have learned to control while traveling with Zabuza, said Hinata, as she put her bag down the moment Haku leapt away, and went into gentle fist stance. Your clan's eyes are everything they've been rumored to be in terms of potential. I must also commend your skills in deducing my bloodline revolved around water from noticing the simple fact I was manipulating the morning dew to my hand. After being hit by my senbone needle in our last encounter, you must have realized it was made of ice, and saw what I was doing here to help piece it all together, said Haku, as she saw Hinata nod, and also being cautious in terms of being ambushed by the others. Surrender. You cannot win, said Hinata while expanding the range of her Byakugan to its limits for any of the others in Haku's group and more importantly, Sephiroth. Neither can you. I only need a small sample of water to make senbone needles and can by keeping my distance of your gentle fist taijutsu. I have no real wish to fight you in this fashion either, so I propose a temporary truce until we return to our respected camps until a much later time when we may do battle, said Haku seeing Hinata was not going to let down her guard simply because she made the offer. How do I know you won't try anything? Said Hinata seeing the girl smile at her. Not all missing nin are without honor. You are protecting people precious to you and I am preparing to do the same for the battles to come. It's not easy being a missing nin, Hyuga Hinata. We live off the land, feeding on whatever scraps we have on hand, sleep with one eye open knowing our lives could be ended by hunter nin at any moment if they catch us, and have to look over our shoulders during the day knowing the same could happen then too. I am using this time to prepare a means to heal those close to my heart when the time comes to heal them from their injuries, just as you are gathering herbs to heal the injuries of those close to you now. Besides, if I were to make the attempt at destroying you now, he would be upset with me, and no doubt end my life for my rash behavior, said Haku, knowing Hinata would understand just who she was talking about. Sephiroth, said Hinata in near whispery voice, and seeing Haku nod. You need not fear him coming here, Hyuga Hinata. He nor anyone of my group are near here. I came like this because everyone is looking for a missing nin, and the only way to fool people of that is to not be dressed like a missing nin, said Haku, smiling at the girl in front of her, and saw Hinata smile too, and accepting the idea was in fact brilliant. It was hiding in plain sight. When can we expect your group coming after us? Said Hinata, as she was going to get some information out of this, and would know if it was reliable. Hopefully. I don't know. If anything, Sephiroth is waiting for the Anbu from Konoha he knows will be coming here, and is waiting for the right moment after that to strike, said Haku, seeing Hinata's eyes widen with worry, knowing that the Anbu were most likely going to come today if the message sent to the Hokage reached her as planned. They will want to extract us before they choose to engage him, said Hinata, as she saw Haku nod, and kept her guard up while the other slightly older girl walked backwards. He suspects as much. Still, we can't let them leave here with you, and the others of your group. At least not yet, said Haku, as she smiled mischievously at the girl, and loved how confusion was showing on Hinata's face. Why? Said Hinata, almost pleading with the enemy before her, and wished to know what Sephiroth was planning. Again, I don't know. I can understand people better they do themselves, but not even my skills of deduction have been able to get inside Sephiroth's head, and learn of what it is he is planning to do, said Haku, seeing Hinata narrow her eyes and trying to determine if what she just heard was a lie. It wasn't. I'll let you go then. Take what herbs you need. I'm done here, said Hinata, as she slowly lowered the one hand to pick up the bag, and took steps back away from Haku until she got enough distance between them to turn around running. Interesting girl. I wonder what she is to Sephiroth? Thought Haku, as she decided to take what she needed, and go back to report her findings. Tasunade's house hours later. This is bad. Very bad, said Kurenai, as she sat up on the bed offered to her by the client while biting her thumb, and looked at Hinata with the girl's head down. I agree. Sephiroth knew what we would do before it even happened, said Yugao, as she along with the others of the Anbu came in during the time Hinata was out, and healing the two groups with the medic nin of their group. Most of the injuries to each team has been healed for the most part. Their Jounin sensei aside, Team 8 is healthy enough to continue on this mission to protect the client, but all of Team 9 needs to be brought back to Konoha for further medical attention, said the Anbu wearing a boar's mask. Damn it, said Yugao, as she saw her Anbu teammate give a ha? Since he didn't understand, and Kurenai herself was shaking her own head. Sephiroth damaged the stronger team, the senior Jounin leading the group, and knows that we're in a lose/lose situation. Yugao told me that she's to extract us from Wave, but in doing so leaves the client a sitting duck, and will be killed before we even leave. If one Jounin team stays, which will be the weaker team, then Zabuza's group will kill Tazuna after decimating the opposition, said Kurenai, knowing that no matter what they did in terms of deciding how to proceed, they were doomed. Considering Guy is now out of it after giving him a sedative and the stab wound he has on his leg from Sephiroth's sword, how do you want to proceed? I could make it for you, but you are officially the leader now of this group, and it rests entirely on your shoulders, said Yugao, as she saw her friend sigh, and land back on the bed with her head hitting the pillow. Has Sephiroth been spotted around the town? Said Kurenai, seeing Yugao nod. We did. He didn't even bother trying to hide any of his features. Many are afraid of him and giving him a wide berth while he's walking around. It's almost like he's taunting us. It's like he wants us to find him and engage him in battle, said Nico, seeing Kurenai frown in thought. Sephiroth probably wants whatever number of Anbu were sent here to engage him at some point while Zabuza's group attacks us here at Tazuna's house. To divide and conquer us, if you will, said Kurenai, as she was glad the class in strategic warfare when she was at the academy had paid off, and helped think on some level as their enemy. Shame the class was removed due to budget cuts and left to Jounin senseis of Jounin teams to teach this. Again, how do you want to proceed? Your injuries are not long-term. You could stay here with your team now that the ones injured in it are properly healed. The problem is, you're going into a one-sided fight, and I'm using the word fight lightly, said Yugao with a clear concern in her voice. I know, and yet, said Kurenai, unsure of what it was that seemed to fill her with hope. What? Said Yugao, seeing the look on Kurenai's face. I think Sephiroth is waiting not only for the Anbu team from Konoha to arrive, but a message from us, and a way to deliver it. I also think I know how, said Kurenai, as she hoped this was what needed to be done, since she clearly remembered what Sephiroth had done to them, and had not raised his sword to kill them like they all thought he would. Injure them? Yes. Kill them? No. What do you have in mind? said Yugao, as she was all ears, and saw the grin on the Jounin's face. I need a pen, paper, and, Akamaru, said Kurenai, as she knew Kiba was going to hate this, but if this worked out the way she planned, they may get out of this alive, and in one piece. With Sephiroth, the young warrior smiled to himself, as his plans were coming to fruition with the plan he had created, and set in motion to bring about the enemies around him together. To weed them out, to gather them in one spot, and then decide who among them were his true enemies before removing such scum from this world. He sensed the Anbu from Konoha watching him. How they tried to conceal themselves by acting like the people here, but couldn't due to their faces not showing the same kind of suffering the natives of Wave Country had, and could easily remove them with a flick of his wrist. But where would the fun be in that? Besides, their deaths were not part of the plan, and to diverge from it now would be bad for all parties. A barking sound of a dog quickly caught his attention before turning slightly to see the dog Kiba had with him when they fought in the forest. So they sent the dog to be their messenger. Interesting, thought Sephiroth, as he saw the paper on Akamaru's collar, and took it before motioning for the animal to leave while he read the message. We need to talk. All of us. Meet us at the bridge tomorrow. Yuhi Kurenai Jounin sensei of Team 8, so they put her in charge. One again, I'm interested, said Sephiroth, smiling to himself before letting out a small chuckle, and then left the town to report this to Zabuza. With Zabuza, you think it's a trap? Said Zabuza, knowing it could be if the opposition used a dog to deliver a message. No. Well, not entirely a trap anyway. But that's not what Gato will think after we let him know we're going to the bridge tomorrow to take care of Tazuna and the others. We need him to think this is the perfect opportunity to destroy all of us in one moment that he won't dare pass up, said Sephiroth, seeing Zabuza nod, since Haku had infiltrated Gato's hideout after gathering herbs and had learned of the businessman's plan to not pay them what he owed. This could still go bad for us, said Zabuza, as he didn't like this, and the others were in full agreement. This is part of the risks that come with your profession, Zabuza, or have you forgotten? Said Sephiroth, hearing Zabuza growl at him under those bandages. I haven't forgotten. I just want us to get out of it alive. I have an ambition to achieve, and it's kind of hard to do it if I'm dead, said Zabuza, seeing Sephiroth nod in understanding. There is much to risk depending on the ambitious goals one wishes to accomplish. Incomplete bridge, you think he'll show up with the others? Said Kiba, as he was glad Akamaru made it back in one piece, and feared the worst. I don't know, Kiba, but stay sharp all the same, and keep an eye out for anything, said Kurenai, as she looked to Hinata, and saw she was nervous in meeting Sephiroth a third time. They're here, said Shino, seeing the mist roll in unnaturally around them. You didn't bring your Anbu buddies with you. Brave, but foolish, said Zabuza, as he appeared with his group in front of them, and Sephiroth appearing from behind. We had to ensure the client and our remaining Jinan team were kept safe until this was over, said Kurenai, as she glanced behind her at Sephiroth, and saw his face showed no indication of arrogant joy in hurting Jinan Team 9 she half expected from him. That was a smart move considering they are not capable of fighting here today. Besides, you should we wish to fight, said Sephiroth, as he took a few steps toward them, and saw the Aburame along with the Inuzuka focus on him. But you don't, said Kurenai simply. Hence why we're here. The mist Zabuza has created is merely to keep Gato from seeing what we're doing. As far as he's concerned, we are currently fighting to the death, and no doubt has a small army of thugs with him to take us all down in our weakened condition, said Sephiroth smoothly, seeing Kurenai frowning at him and then looking at Zabuza to see him nodding too. So this whole plan was to take down Gato? But, you work for him? Said Kiba before he scratched his head in confusion. We did. But then Sephiroth felt we should keep ourselves open to the idea of keeping an eye on Gato in case the bastard tried to backstab us. After Haku met your female student, I had her go do a little infiltration at Gato's base, and she overheard him planning to have us all killed so he could collect the bounty on our heads. As it turns out, my silver-haired friend behind you is worth more than all of us put together, and Gato would not doubt wish to make some money by profiting from our demise. And I do mean all of us, said Zabuza with disgust at how greedy the man was just to get money. How do we know you won't try anything while we wait for your trap to be set? Said Kurenai, knowing she only had a few seconds to cast a genjutsu to get her team off the bridge to safety. If I wanted to kill you, Kurenai-san, I would have done it back when we first fought, and simply completed the act we were hired to do, said Sephiroth, seeing the woman nod her head knowing such a thing was true. While this was happening, Haku focused on Hinata, staring back at her with the Byakugan eyes, and a look of intense strength she had never seen in the timid girl before. Sephiroth seemed to believe that this girl from the Hyuga clan showed great potential, but from what Haku could see, it was restrained by something inside, and only the silver-haired swordsman seemed capable of bringing it out. What are you to him? What is he to you? Thought Haku, as she didn't know why her mind was even asking these things, and wondered what this feeling was in her chest into thinking the two could be more than she first thought. Was she jealous? No. It couldn't be. Why should she even be jealous of this Hyuga girl for something that may not even exist? Why did she even care that? A tool does not become jealous. A tool does not feel jealousy. And yet, this feeling within Haku's heart was the only thing the word seemed accurate when it came to describing such a thing. Did she want to feel that connection to the silver-haired warrior of an angel too? Twice, it seemed this Hyuga girl could have been slain by Sephiroth's hands, and twice she was spared death by him. Why? Why? Haku. Control yourself. You're leaking killer intent all over the place. It's putting the leaf shinobi on edge, said Zabuza, as he didn't know why Haku was getting this way, but it was freaking him out, and no doubt doing the same to Team 8. Sorry Zabuza-sama, said Haku before doing as he asked. That girl wearing the mask named Haku. She was so angry mere moments ago and it was aimed mostly at Hinata. Why? Thought Kurenai seeing her student was shaken, but would not bend to the masked girl's anger, and steadied herself. Zabuza, it's time. Kill the mist, said Sephiroth while looking at Zabuza, then Haku for a second, and manifested Masamune to his hand. Right, said Zabuza, as he did just that, and sure enough Gato was standing there with his goons, and looking rather smug. Well Zabuza, it seems for all your boastful talk, you are just a little baby demon in a big demon's world, and can't handle what needs to be done. Even the rumored Namikaze Sephiroth on your side, the bridge builder lived, and the leaf shinobi are all alive. How disappointing. Then again, you get what you pay for, and I think I'll get my refund from your hide. I'm sure the Mizukage in Mist would love to have a word with you and the Demon Brothers. Not to mention the Leaf Village is also willing to pay big money to just about anyone capable of bringing down the supposed one-winged angel of death who killed the Sandaime Hokage. Personally, I never believed those rumors about you having an angel's wing, and think you're probably just some freak half-bird experiment that went wrong, said Gato with his thugs laughing with him. Such a foolish person you are, Gato. You were so eager to see us near death and not pay Zabuza his fee, that you didn't even bother to notice that we're all very healthy, said Sephiroth walking towards Gato and his thugs. What? Said Gato, as he noticed that Zabuza was uninjured, same with Haku, and the Demon Brothers were in fact water clones of Zabuza under a henge. Even now, the Demon Brothers are raiding your base, and seizing all your finances that you possess. By the time they are done, you won't have a single form of currency to your name, and won't have the means to even pay the boatman across the river Styx after you are killed, said Sephiroth, as his smile left his face, and a cold serious one now filled with anger had made itself known while his power seemed to radiate around his body. Is it me or does Sephiroth look angry to you? Said Kiba to Shino, who was shaking now from what he felt, and Akamaru below them was whimpering in fear. He looks angry, said Shino, as he heard his remaining insects crying out inside the hive that was part of his body, and feeling their fear of this mono, this god that was barely 10 feet from them. Kill the freak. You'll get triple your usual pay, said Gato, as he saw the thugs hungry for cash, and triple the amount was something they couldn't pass up. As one they charged. Slash. As one they fell, into a big bloody mess. He is a god amongst swordsmen, thought Zabuza, as he saw Sephiroth was behind the now bloody mess of bodies, and staring directly at Gato currently on his knees begging for his life. Don't kill me. I'll give you whatever you want. I have connections. Strong connections to any country you want to go. They all owe me favors and can grant you sanctuary from your pursuers. Zabuza too, said Gato, hoping that this monster before him would show mercy and spare his life. Such false acts of groveling at my feet. How I hate people like you. At least when I got this from Tazuna, his words were pure and true when he begged me to spare his life. I granted his wish for that reason due to it having merit, and what he was asking of me was to help a noble cause in restoring hope to an otherwise hopeless place. You don't know the meaning of the word mercy, Gato, because you have never granted it and never wanted to give it. In my eyes, you have been weighed, you have been measured, and you have been found wanting, said Sephiroth before walking away from the businessman and not even looking back to see Zabuza behind Gato, while ignoring the sound of sword now slicing through flesh with the thump sound that followed with the fool's head hitting the ground. Good riddance, said Zabuza, knowing how things could have turned out had Sephiroth not been with them during this whole event. And now that just leaves you, said Sephiroth, as he looked at Team 8, and saw them tense his words. What about us? We're not your enemies anymore, said Kurenai, as she could tell the masked girl was itching for a fight with Hinata, and just might get it should Sephiroth or Zabuza give the word. That is correct. However, those you serve are my enemies, and thus creates a problem for me, said Sephiroth, as he walked up to Haku, and put a hand on her shoulder to make the girl calm herself. We serve the Hokage, said Kurenai simply in a defiant tone. I know you do. However, it's whom the Hokage serves that bothers me, and those that are loyal to people like him. You see, the Kyuubi has shown me some very interesting memories the past couple of nights in connection to him being sealed into my body, and has shown me just who in the leaf are my true enemies, said Sephiroth, as the fox had heard all the council members arguing with the clan heads about what to do with him after the sealing happened mere hours ago, and heard the voices of the Toad Sannin Jiraiya talking to the Sandaime about how the highest authority in Fire Country that was the Fire Daimyo himself giving them all approval. So what does that mean for us? Said Kiba, not know whether to attack or to flee. You will leave Wave Country after this bridge is completed. Then you will tell your Hokage the mission was a success and the old man is no longer in danger, said Sephiroth, knowing that they would tell the Hokage everything about what happened here. And what about you? Even if you leave here, Leaf Shinobi along with every enemy your father made in the past will come out of the woodwork, and attempt to destroy you, said Kurenai, as she knew from what Yu Gao said that Sephiroth was now public enemy number one in almost every part of the elemental countries. That's not your business, Yuhi Kurenai. I suggest you focus on the business at hand, and that is looking after your students. Especially you, Hyuga Hinata? Said Sephiroth, as he pointed at Hinata, and saw the shock on everyone's faces. Me? Said Hinata, as she was nervous in being in his presence, but to be acknowledged by him was something else entirely, and for what reason still baffled her. Yes. Out of all the members of your Jinan team, you have the greatest potential of all, and I sense it is just begging to come out, said Sephiroth, seeing Hinata blushing slightly at his praise and sensed Haku was slowly increasing her killer intent again. A quick look in the female ice user's direction stopped that. What could he mean by greatest potential? Thought Kurenai, as she knew Hinata had the ability to be a great shinobi, but Sephiroth made it sound like the Hyuga girl could one day be Hokage, or at the very least an Anbu captain. Until we meet again. Come Haku, said Sephiroth, as he turned his back to them, and Haku obediently followed, though he sensed the girl wanted to look back to quickly glare at Hinata. We should kill them now. Make an example out of them for the leaf, said Haku, which surprised herself with such words, and wondered why she was suddenly filled with the need to spill blood. Was this because she was jealous of the Hyuga girl's praise received from Sephiroth? We will do no such thing to them, Haku. There is a time and place for spilling blood. Our time here doing that is over, said Sephiroth with a tone of a scolding teacher in his voice, as they left Jinan teammate on the bridge, and went to see what the demon brothers were up to at Gato's base. Konoha Hokage's office several days later, Senju Tsunade was not pleased with the report given to her by Kurenai, and even less by the Anbu captain she entrusted to keep things from getting out of hand. The first part of mission given to Nico's Anbu squad had been for the most part only half successful and didn't expect the situation to spiral out of control. Granted, both teams and Tazuna lived through the situation, but it was enough to give Tsunade gray hairs behind the genjutsu she put around herself. The complexity behind her godson's actions were also baffling too, as she read how the boy had created the illusion of being employed by Gato to kill the bridge builder, only to be the businessman's very downfall, and assisted in his death with Zabuza performing the killing slice. What's more was Sephiroth, along with his new allies, had commandeered Gato's yacht to leave Wave Country while Team 8 had to wait until the bridge was fully complete, and give the silver-haired swordsman a good head start to Kami knows where. Even more disturbing was how her godson interacted with Hyuga Hinata on the bridge, and how the masked girl named Haku seemed to be angry at such interaction. Going over Hinata's file, Tsunade didn't know if what Sephiroth saw was actually in the girl, but her Jounin sensei seemed to think there was something to the One Wing Angel's claims, and the female Hokage decided to look into this herself. Hence why the timid girl was sitting in a chair in her office. Do you know why you're here, Hyuga Hinata? Said Tsunade, looking at the Hyuga girl trying to sit up straight in her chair in front of the leader of the Leaf Village. I respectfully do not, Hokage-sama, said Hinata, knowing that being in the presence of the most experienced medic nin now Hokage in all of Konoha for a personal meeting was a great honor. You are here because I went over the mission report your sensei along with Guy gave me. I found it to be very enlightening reading material, though not all of it was pleasing to read given what happened. What I did find interesting was how your medical creams and knowledge of herbs helped in the healing of both groups. It seems you have a skill for the healing arts, said Tsunade with a hint of pride in her voice, knowing that it was so rare to find such a rare skill in one so young. Thank you, Hokage-sama. And my clan doesn't or really seem to think so, said Hinata, feeling depressed at the memory of the Hyuga elders sneering in contempt at the thought of using the Byakugan to help heal others. The Hyuga clan is a clan of invincible elite warriors. Not nursemaids. To speak of such things is heresy and will not be allowed. Oh really? Well, you can tell your family, I think you have great potential that is not going to waste, and if they still don't like it then they can be reminded that Namikaze Sephiroth himself thinks so too, said Tsunade, smirking at the thought of those snooty Hyuga elders being put in their place, knowing that to denounce Hinata would bring about the fear of their words reaching the one-wing angel of death and him paying them all a visit. Why, you know about that? Said Hinata, blushing at the praise from Tsunade and the memory of Sephiroth stating she had such potential to do great things. By now, it's spread throughout the entire village, and will no doubt get you a lot of attention from people, said Tsunade, seeing Hinata being nervous about that, which would have to be corrected soon, and the female Hokage knew how. I don't think I'm special, said Hinata, seeing the Hokage frown. Well, I think you are, and so does the last Namikaze gone rogue. Not to mention your team along with guys truly appreciated what you did for them. In fact, how would you like to learn from me in being a medic nin? Personally, said Tsunade, knowing it would get her out of the office and away from the damn paperwork. A as in being your AA apprentice? Said Hinata in surprise, knowing such an honor was given only to one other person currently outside the room. Yes. Your Byakugan combined with what I've seen here in this report regarding the medical cream shows a potential that is borderline in being that of a prodigy, if not that. Now, while I have my own dislike for prodigies due to them being arrogant, I see none of that in you, and would like to see what someone with your potential Hyuga Hinata can do under my teachings, said Tsunade, seeing the girl slowly nod her head before doing the one thing that came naturally to her shocked mind. Hyuga Hinata fainted. Underneath Konoha Root HQ, Danzo scowled hard despite the pain he was under from his old battle wounds and the surgery done to him to achieve what was done to him. Inside his bandaged face was the Sharingan Eye of Uchiha Shisui, having been acquired after the man's death, and his right arm had been given the power of the Shadaime Senju bloodline, thanks to Orochimaru's experimental research on the matter, with Sharingan eyes surgically implanted into the arm. These two combined would have given the leader of the officially disbanded Root organization the power to control the Kyuubi at will, making the fox become enraged when desired, and calmed when needed to be calmed. In truth, Danzo would have wielded power of a godly force, and thus making him a god amongst men to lead his vision of ruling over the elemental countries. However, such a vision was no longer possible now, with the fox vessel no longer in the village to even try anything, and even then the influential power behind these two bloodlines may no longer be able to influence this new threat. It wasn't the first time that Danzo had cursed the late Sandaime for not giving him the boy to mold into a weapon, and now realized that his old rival feared that such an action would possibly bring forth the old prophecy involving Sephiroth's return to the world. Sigh, said Danzo before his loyal Root agent came forward. Yes, Danzo-sama, said Sai, seeing the old man looking at him with his natural eye now narrowed at him. How is the Uchiha faring in his training with Team 7? Said Danzo, as he used the whole Sephiroth created to get Sai into Team 7. And keep an eye on the Uchiha. Not well, Danzo-sama. The Uchiha is arrogant. He constantly demands people train him in their shinobi art so he can become more powerful. In fact, it was only because of my assistance in the Bell test that Kakashi even had an excuse to pass our team and begin our training, said Sai, knowing that the Uchiha's development had taken priority now that the weapon Danzo wanted was no longer capable of being his to command. I see. What of your third teammate? This, Haruno Sakura, said Danzo, looking at the file in front of him, though it was pretty slim. She is cannon fodder at best, Danzo-sama. Haruno Sakura fully expects the last Uchiha to save her when trouble happens. She has book smarts from what I've learned from the time spent at the academy, but no real physical training due to Sakura's father being on the council, and the mother spoiling the pink-haired girl silly, said Sai, as he had done his information digging well, and knew to keep nothing out of his report. Very well. Keep me informed. My Root agents will see to it that certain missions the Hokage gives out require Hitake Kakashi and Team 7 to help stimulate the Uchiha in a way to unlock his Sharingan, said Danzo, as he originally had planned for that C-rank mission to Wave Country go to Team 7, but Tsunade had decided against it, and sent 2 other Jinan teams instead. As you wish, Danzo-sama, said Sai before leaving his master. With Sephiroth, so you want to part ways from us, said Zabuza simply at the one-winged angel of death, seeing him staring out at the sea of water before them with an unreadable face. It can't be helped. If what Yuhi Kurenai said is indeed true, then I am now the most wanted man in all of the elemental countries, and everyone will want to have a piece of me, said Sephiroth with his hands behind his back looking at the water's surface. Yeah, I suppose it can't be helped is the correct thing to say. The only upside from this, is that the Mizukage will be distracted, and send most of his shinobi forces away from us over time to come after you. By that point, who knows what will happen, and if I can overthrow the bastard to call off the hunting, said Zabuza before seeing the sad look in Haku's eyes. Yes. By that point, I will have no choice, but to show my enemies what it means to cross me, and to defy what cannot be defied, said Sephiroth, as he thought about his mother, and what she told him before the transformation into what he was now. I would pay good money to see that, said Zabuza, letting out a laugh knowing the boy's enemies were in for a whole lot of trouble when facing him. I imagine you would, Zabuza. Until then, I must take my leave of you, and say goodbye for now, said Sephiroth, as he created the one white angelic wing from his back, and began to ascend to the air while ignoring the shocked looks from the 4 people around him. Sephiroth, wait, said Haku, as she latched onto him, and stopped his rise to the sky above. Haku. Get off of him, said Zabuza, as he sure hoped this wasn't Haku acting boy crazy, and wanting to be with the kid. What is it, Haku? Said Sephiroth, as he slowly descended back down, and looked the slightly older girl in the eyes. I wanted to please take me with you, said Haku, just came out saying what she felt, as she couldn't hold off in asking him, and saw the raised eyebrow that showed his surprise. Haku, said Zabuza, shocked that Haku would ask Sephiroth this. Why? Said Sephiroth while ignoring Zabuza. I don't know. I just feel deep down that I should. I feel compelled to join you. I'm not weak. I won't slow you down, and if I do, you can kill me, said Haku, ignoring Zabuza's words to let go of the winged boy and to regain her sanity. Are you sure? The pace I set is very demanding. Do you think you can keep up? Said Sephiroth, as he had proven that already, and even now it took a considerable amount of Haku's energy to keep up with him in terms of plans. I have a good reference, and like I said, if I slow you down you can kill me, said Haku, as she wasn't afraid to offer life up since it was already offered every time when serving Zabuza, and was nothing new in terms of a price. Zabuza? What do you think? Said Sephiroth, as he looked from Haku to the demon of the mist, and saw several different emotions going through the man's head while the 2 demon brothers were a little nervous in possibly seeing them duke it out while they were currently in the middle of the ocean. In all honesty? I don't know what I can tell you. Haku is her own person despite all the training I've pounded into that skull of hers to say otherwise, and being my tool I can throw away on a whim. I taught her all I could in being a shinobi, but she's never killed anyone with this knowledge, and yet has been invaluable to me when I needed her most, said Zabuza, as he saw Haku look back at him with joy in her eyes, and while the whole she's never killed anyone was a possible problem for Sephiroth, it seemed the silver-haired warrior didn't mind. Do you still need her by your side? Said Sephiroth, knowing that if Haku still had value to Zabuza it would be best to have her stay with the demon of the mist. No. I don't need her with me. The money we got from raiding Gato's base is more than enough to finance what we need to overthrow the Mizukage. Plus, we left a nice chunk with the people of Wave Country so they can get out of their economic stump they're in, and hopefully will be willing to open up some trade with Mist once on Mizukage, said Zabuza, as he saw Sephiroth smiling in approval, and knew it was from thinking ahead. You're learning to think more with your brain than with your sword. Nicely done. As for you, Haku, it seems I have found myself a partner, and thus you now belong to me, said Sephiroth, seeing the girl hug him tighter while he raised an eyebrow at Zabuza, currently giving him a shrug. She's not my problem anymore. Not that she was one to begin with. If anyone was the problem it was me and way of doing things when it came to clients. I just hope Haku doesn't become pregnant from this soon after I have heard the talk. I still can't believe I was the one to give her that, thought Zabuza, as he wondered if a part of him was getting soft, and saw Haku like a daughter. I won't let you down, Sephiroth-sama. I will make you proud of me, said Haku, as she looked back at Zabuza, and whispered thank you to him before she felt herself leaving the ground into the sky. To what location only the one wing angel of death knew. Thanks for listening, and remember the disrespect is real. Goodbye.